Hello, everybody. It's my first live stream. Hi, everyone. Whoever is here, I don't know who's here today. This is Kassia. We're going to do a little vegan, ask a vegetarian, ask a vegan kind of deal right now. So if you guys have questions, definitely type them to me. Hopefully I can see them in the chat box here. I don't know. I've heard that people are having trouble actually seeing the chat as it comes up. So to make sure I can see the chat, we'll see how that goes. How are you guys generally doing that? Seeing the chat, because I don't see anyone commenting in the group chat, but maybe that could be because nobody's here with me and I'm just talking into the void. That is completely possible. So it's 4:01. Let's just give people a chance to get here. But how are all of you guys doing today? I hope you're doing fabulous. We are almost at the end of Veda. Yay! Today's the last day. We've all learned a lot, so that's really exciting. It was time to maybe try going live for the first time. Hopefully you guys can all hear me. I have two computers going, and on my second computer, I can't see my live video. So hopefully it's there somewhere. Maybe I have to log out as myself. You know what? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to log in as someone else and see if I can see my live video. I think that's pretty witty. Hold on. Okay. Bear with me as this is my first time. Oh, okay, I can see live now. Can I see comments? Let's see. Okay, there are no comments, so that's good. I'm gonna write something to myself. Bear with me as this is my first time. Oh, okay, I can see live now. Can I see comments? Let's see. Okay, there are no comments. So oh, that must be so weird. You must be hearing both. All right, so we are here. We are going to talk about Ask a Vegetarian. You can also ask me questions about going vegan, moving towards vegan, why I generally refer to myself as plant-based and not vegan or vegetarian. You can ask me questions about cruelty-free makeup or makeup in general, or the cruelty-free lifestyle. Whatever you want, I will try to answer. If it's really weirdly personal, I might not, but I will try my best to be honest and forthcoming. So, one of the things that people always ask vegetarians is, where do you get your protein? Which I know a lot of people who don't eat meat are like, ugh, I don't want to answer this again. But it's actually, I think if people thought back to when they first went vegetarian and were trying to learn for themselves how to get their diet straight, that it's a fair question for people to ask where you got your protein from. So the thing that you need to know is that plants and plant-based foods, even without meat, have a ton of protein in some of them. Protein doesn't equal meat. Okay, protein is a macronutrient that's in lots of food. So there's 3 macronutrients that you'll hear people talk about. So you can kind of classify all your food into one of these 3. One is a protein, second is a carb, third is a fat. And all foods basically break down into those. And lots of foods have a little bit of all of them. But for example, nuts are mostly fat with some protein. Vegetables are mostly carbs, because carbs aren't just starchy carbs like rice or pasta. Carbs are anything that aren't a fat or a protein, basically. So it's like a non-starchy carb would be something like your vegetables. Fruits are carbs. They're made of like sugar chains. And then something like hamburger is a lot of protein and some fat, very low carb. Something like an avocado is some carbs and a lot of fat. So yeah, something like brown rice is a carb, but it has a lot of protein in it. So you can still get your protein from a plant-based diet. The other thing you need to know is if you're adding like beans, rice, you're gonna get a complete protein out of those things. But also we don't need as much protein as we've been led to believe. Nobody needs an 8-ounce steak every day to get your protein. You can get protein just from like a 10%. I think 10% of your calories need to be protein. It's not like 50% of your calories need to be protein. Like bodybuilders, people who are like really breaking down their muscles all the time might need a slightly higher amount, but we're talking like 20-25% of your diet tops needs to be protein. The rest, you're just gonna metabolize and pee away. So why are you stuffing yourself with steak and chicken all the time? You can be completely healthy on less protein. And if you need less protein, you can get it from plants easily. So there you go. When people ask vegetarians, where do you get your protein? I get it from rice and broccoli and peas and beans and everything else. But I do try to eat a certain amount of meat kind of replacements like tofu and tempeh to make sure my diet is well rounded. What else? I'm gonna just Google that really quick and see what else we have going on for. I'm gonna just look it up for you guys until there are some people here to ask me some questions. Our common questions for vegans. Let's see what other people are asking. Let's see. Oh, the first one on this list. How do you get your protein? So we've already gone over that. The next one. The Bible says it's okay to eat animals. No one's ever said that to me, but if they did, I would say that the Bible is also okay with slavery, and we don't really do that anymore either. Or, you know, we shouldn't. It also says it's okay to stone adulterers to death. And like, I don't think that's a great thing to do either. So that would be my answer to that. Isn't it natural to eat meat? That's a really good question. I would say humans probably are well adapted to an omnivore diet, but I've also heard evidence that humans are more like a fruitivore, so that our teeth and our digestive tract and just the way our hands are and that kind of thing is more conducive to being the kind of animal that eats a large fruit diet. And that would make sense with a lot of our like ape counterparts, right? A lot of them eat a lot of fruit. So I would say that, is it natural to eat meat? Maybe. But I don't think that means that you have to. It's natural to do a lot of things that we don't really do anymore. You know, it can be argued that in the animal kingdom, rape is also a really natural thing to do, but like we still don't condone that. So just because it's natural doesn't mean we should do it. Isn't it boring to eat salad and tofu all of the time? Hell yeah. Oh God, it would be so boring to eat salad and tofu all the time. Thank God I don't do that. If you don't milk a cow, its udders will explode. Cows need to be milked, so we're doing them a favor. Cows would only... So just like people, cows only make milk when they have a calf to feed. So they wouldn't explode because their baby calf would just drink the milk. Some of these questions are so weird. Do people actually get asked these? Nobody's ever asked me these kind of things. What about plants? I read a study in which plants can feel pain too. That's true? Maybe that plants can feel is the word that is problematic. Like, are they sentient? Like, can they sense pain? Is it the same way that, like, is it actually painful? I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I think that's kind of a straw man argument just used to distract people. So yeah, if we didn't breed animals for food, they would go extinct. This doesn't even make sense. If that's the case, why aren't we breeding like pandas for food? They're about to go extinct. Just eat a bunch of cute pandas. How do I feel about humane slaughter? That's a really good question. I actually don't think humane slaughter is like a real thing. I think nothing wants to be put to death, so it's not really humane. I get what is being said. Like I understand the argument that as long as the animal was raised good and in a nice, lived a nice life, that it's okay. I don't know about that. Like, I guess so. It's better than them having a shitty life and then killing them. But I think just like letting them have a good life and not killing them is even better. Call me crazy. I knew a vegan once and he was really sick. I actually do see this one a lot. People citing that they knew one person one time who went vegetarian or vegan and then was just like an anemic, bedridden invalid after that. And I'm like, okay, well maybe, but there's also like any diet that you go on, there's a chance to get really sick and harm yourself by not getting the nutrients that you need. Like people who go on a ketogenic diet, like something like Atkins, also sometimes get really sick because anytime you're not properly taking in the nutrients you need, you're gonna get sick. And, you know, to be honest, when you first switch to a vegan diet, if you go cold turkey vegan instead of like plant-based vegetarian first and then kind of move into it, excuse me, I'm still really sick. Yeah, you might be lacking certain nutrients. You might forget to get certain things into your diet or not know that you need them, or I don't know, just not really know what you're doing yet. And in that case, yeah, it makes sense that you might be sick. For example, if you switch your diet from, you know, a really well-rounded diet that includes lots of meat to going to something where you're just eating pasta all day because that's what makes you feel satisfied and like you're not just eating salad and tofu every day, you might be missing out on a lot of important nutrients. Or I think what most people have issues with is when they switch over to a vegan diet, there's so many less calorie dense things in the diet because meat is very calorie dense, cheese, yogurt, eggs, those are all very calorie dense. So if you switch over to a vegan diet, kind of like cold turkey like that, you might not realize how much you have to eat to sustain yourself, that you need to eat a lot of food in order to get the same amount of calories. So people, you know, get lightheaded or dizzy or headachy or, you know, start dropping lots of weight because they haven't figured out how to get everything in their diet yet. But that doesn't mean that going vegan is going to like inherently by itself make you sick. There's lots of healthy vegans, Olympians, bodybuilders, you know, fitness gurus who live a plant-based lifestyle and they're fine. So I don't know. Anytime someone's like, I had a friend of a friend and this happened to them, I'm always like, okay, in anything, not just in like a vegetarian diet, in anything. Isn't being vegan super expensive? That's a good question. It can be, but it also doesn't have to be. If you're a better cook, if you're more creative, if you're willing to eat a blander diet, I guess it doesn't have to be. The basis of most vegan diets for a lot of people are rice, beans, lentils, almond milk. All that stuff is pretty affordable. Like if you're gonna eat a rice and bean and veg mix a lot for your diet, that's pretty affordable. Like especially if you're having like oatmeal and fruit in the morning, like some soup that's like bean and rice based at lunch, and then something like a vegetarian chili or something for dinner, that's pretty affordable. Like beans and rice are dirt cheap, and then produce is actually really affordable too. Now if you're into more foodie kind of stuff and you want to buy all the fun vegan meat replacements or specialty items, that can add up super quick. That is not that's not cheap. So yeah, I guess it can go either way. Let's see what else we have. When people argue that agriculture kills animals too, absolutely, yes, agriculture kills tons of animals. Lots of field animals, field mice, that kind of thing, are killed and harmed during the agricultural process. So like harvesting wheat and that kind of thing. and also tons of forests and, green wetlands. Wetlands are transformed in order to make farmland. Rainforests are bulldozed in order to make farmland. But the thing that people don't talk about in all that is that animals raised for meat eat a tremendous amount of that agricultural, like that produce from that agricultural land. A lot of that land is being bulldozed in order to make room for animals to graze and not for people to eat plants from. So by eating less meat, we actually have more farmland to use to raise plants for us to eat. So that's a thing. Plus, okay, so the agricultural practice kills animals too. So veganism isn't about being perfect. It's about reducing harm. So yes, plowing a field might kill mice. Plowing a wheat field to get the bread I want to eat, or the corn, or whatever. But it's not like people who eat meat also don't eat bread or corn. Like, they do. So I'm just cutting out the meat suffering, but the same amount of animal, life or whatever is impacted by the grain farming. I guess that's a fair argument. But once again, kind of a weird argument. Let's see here. What else might people want to know about being vegetarian? What do I eat when I go to a wedding or something where my diet isn't really accommodated for? In that situation, I wouldn't eat, like, if there was a chicken dish or whatever, I wouldn't eat it. I would just eat more of the sides. And like, man, bread basket, give me some of that. But I refer to myself as a plant-based eater because I'm not always the most strict with dairy and eggs when it is an ingredient in something. For example, if I went to a wedding and I wanted to have some of the wedding cake, but I knew it had dairy in it, I would probably just have a piece of wedding cake. And that's why I don't like to refer to myself as vegan, because people who are vegan take that kind of thing extremely seriously and are very stringent in their diet. And I'm not like that. I'm pretty flexible with that kind of thing. Now, that being said, if someone, plopped down chicken cordon bleu on my plate for a wedding, I wouldn't be able to eat it. I don't think I could even stomach it, even if I tried. But that's not, eating animal flesh makes me really uncomfortable. So I wouldn't be able to do that probably. Even same with like an omelet. Like, I haven't eaten eggs in so long that I don't know if I could do it. But if someone served like crepes with whipped cream, like, I know whipped cream is dairy, crepes have a lot of eggs in them, but I could probably eat that and be okay with it. Actually, crepes are delicious. I would be pretty happy on it, to be honest. But but that's why I don't ever call myself vegan, and I always refer to myself as plant-based. Because 95% of my diet is vegan. But if I'm out in a social situation like that, at a wedding or at a birthday party, I definitely do kind of relax my rules down into like vegetarian. So, but if I tell people I'm vegetarian, then they do things like serve me omelets, and then I'm like, or like a big glass of milk is not something I could probably stomach. So, it's tricky. It's tricky. Having to define and put a label on anything is always kind of difficult because labels don't leave a lot of wiggle room. But also, if you go around telling people I'm 95% vegan, the rest of the vegans look at you like, so I try to just avoid that. Doesn't the vegetarian diet make you too fat or too thin? Not eating intuitively and overeating makes you, or under-eating and restricting, those things make you too fat or too thin. But no, the vegetarian diet, I've seen super thin vegans, I've seen very chubby vegans. Nah, doesn't make you anything. Do you buy fish for your cat? How is that not murder? Good question. That's actually a really good question. I've thought about that a lot. If I buy meat for my cat, but we don't eat meat in the house, like me and my fiance, like, what is that? How does that work? But cats are true carnivores. They're one of the most true carnivores there is. So they can't live on a non-meat diet. So if I have been charged with taking care of these animals, and I want to love them and provide the best life for them, that means they need to eat meat. So what am I going to do? Like, am I going to hurt my cat? Am I going to do something that will put their lives in jeopardy? No. So obviously I'm going to feed my cat their fancy feast. Let's see. If I was traveling, foreign countries have no vegetarian food, what would you do? I don't think that's true. I think there's a lot of vegetarian options in a lot of the world because North America is probably the most meat-dependent society in terms of like the sheer amount of meat we eat. So that's not true. If I went traveling, I would probably be even less committed to not eating dairy or eggs because that could be really problematic. Like even when I was in Cuba, it was impossible to avoid dairy. Like it was so difficult. I would have been starving for the entire week if I ate no dairy. Because the only options they ever had for vegetarians were full of cheese. So there was never anything vegan friendly in Cuba, and that was really, really tough. And even things that I tried to eat that it should have been really okay for vegans, like rice, they put like bacon in it. And I was like, what is happening with all this bacon and this rice everywhere? So that was kind of tough. So I could see when I was traveling, I might have to relax on some things, but I really don't think I'd have to eat meat. I don't think that would be an actual problem that I had. Do you wear pearls, silk, leather, fur, or eat gelatin? No, I don't do any of that stuff. So do I own any? I definitely don't own any fur. Like, oh, no. Leather, I no longer own any leather. I used to have like shoes and bags that were leather, but I don't have any of that anymore. And you know what? I never really had it because I was poor and a student and like my shoes were all synthetic because they were cheap. Silk. I don't own silk because I could never take care of it properly, first of all. Like I'm going to the dry cleaner. That's not happening. And pearls, same thing. I'm not fancy enough to own real pearls. So that's not really a problem. I think it's best if you do own those things. I think the fashion industry is so wasteful that it is best to keep those things. Keep your pearls, take really good care of them, pass them down. Same with your leather. Make sure it gets a second life somewhere. Don't just like garbage it or something, but take it to a consignment store or Goodwill or something like that. And if you don't want to wear it anymore, at least make sure it gets a second life. So the fact that that animal, died to make it, at least it's being used and not just ending up as waste in a landfill, So I think that's what I would recommend. Or if you want to wear it until it falls apart and get your use out of it, like that's okay too. I think just not adding to the cycle anymore is what's important. But I also think not wasting is important. The fashion industry is extremely wasteful. So I think not adding to that is as important as not harming animals. Because it's really bad on the ecosystem and our environment, and fashion is really awful for workers. So the less fashion we buy and the more we're able to just, keep what we have, take care of what we have. I think that's really important. Okay, well, I've been on this live stream for 25 minutes, so I'm gonna wrap it up. If you have any more questions about being vegetarian or my lifestyle or what my ethical choices are, feel free to leave them below in the comment and I will do my best to answer. And thank you so much for everyone who joined me on the live stream today or who viewed. I really appreciate it. And I hope you guys have a great day. I'll talk to you later. Bye. Mwah.